I was talking with my friends and they're like, oh, it's easy for you to quit smoking because you weren't smoking too much during the day. However, during the weekend, or if I was going on vacation or somewhere, I could again have one pack a day. So I think for me, it's still, and I was telling them that's just more of an accomplishment because I got into that mind trap too. It's only 4 cigarettes a day. And I so maybe, but I still had the problems, I still couldn't control it.
Hi everyone, this is Nasya Davos and welcome to this episode of Ask an Ex. Every Ask an Ex episode features an inspiring ex-smoker who succeeded with the CBQ method and who shares their personal experience and unique perspective on quitting smoking and nicotine. Now the ex I have with me today joined our CBQ program and quit smoking on the 27th of February 2020, and she's here to tell you how she did it. Please welcome Manuela Okrainsky. Manuela, thank you so much for being here and congratulations on quitting smoking more than 2 years ago.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Of course, this is such a great achievement. Can you take me back to how you started smoking? How much did you smoke? For how long?
Well, I think like most of the people, I started when I was a teenager. I thought that was something cool. Everybody, or most of the people I knew, like my peers, they were smoking. So that made me, the cool people were smoking. The uncool people, the unpopular one, they weren't smoking. So I think I decided to join the popular crowd. So I started smoking, and that was many, many years ago. And I continued that, 2 years ago with maybe like a 3 months break about 7 years ago, but it didn't last.
Okay.
And I think I was smoking until maybe 15 years ago, about a pack a day. Mm-hmm. Or more if I was going to parties and so on. And then when I moved to Canada and I started a school here, the environment here is completely different. The smokers are considered sometimes even worse than people would have alcohol issues or people with serious drug issues. So I always had to hide. And being in school in healthcare, I was kind of more embarrassed to. My peers were not smoking. I think in a class of 70, it was just 2 or 3 smokers. So I started to hide, and it was difficult. It was like always, I feel the shame. I feel like my breath was stinking, my clothes were stinking. So gradually I started to cut back. And I think for the last maybe, 5 years before stop smoking, I was smoking only in the morning and when I was coming back from work, because I work in a hospital. And of course, again, the embarrassment, I was supposed to be an example, not somebody who have this problem. And so I wasn't smoking during the day. I was smoking only in the morning, 1 cigarette, of course, with coffee, or 2 if I had time. And then when I was coming back, that was I looked forward to come back home so I can smoke. I refused to buy cigarettes during the day. So this is how it was hard. And sometimes I would go and buy, but most of the time not. And then I refused to smoke in the car. So I think that helped me. And actually I wasn't craving during the day. That was for me kind of very interesting. But then when I was coming home, I could smoke 4 cigarettes until I'll go to sleep. And that will be within 2-3 hours. And I was talking with my friends and they're like, oh, it's easy for you to quit smoking because you weren't smoking too much during the day. However, during the weekend, or if I was going on vacation or somewhere, I could again have one pack a day. So I think for me, it's still, and I was telling them that's just more of an accomplishment because I got into that mind trap too. It's only 4 cigarettes a day. And I so maybe, but I still had the problems. I still couldn't control it over the weekend. I still had the wet voice all the time, especially at work. And I still had the guilt and the embarrassment and all of that. So no matter if you smoke 1 cigarette or one pack, for me, it was the same thing.
Yeah, and you're right, because it seems like you put so much effort and energy in keeping it at a minimum for the most part. And when you were able to smoke at night at home, you were smoking as much as you could. And on the weekend, you were still smoking a lot. So you were still addicted, even though you were smoking much less. And you are right. It's easy to go into the mindset, oh, 3 cigarettes a day or 2 cigarettes a day or 5 cigarettes a day. They cannot be that harmful.
Yes.
So how did you talk yourself out of this trap?
My mom got diagnosed in 2019 with cancer.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I haven't cried about this, so I don't know what's happening to me now. Anyway, and I got scared. Then I said, I don't think it's related to smoking in a way. But then I said, I don't want to have something else to worry about. And I said, maybe I should make the effort of quitting smoking now when I'm still healthy.
Yeah.
Instead of having that added to my mental weight when if I get sick too. So, and I was thinking about it before I got into, like, I found your program and I got into it. I was like, why not now? Like, why wouldn't I smoke? Like, why wouldn't I stop now? Like, what difference will make, I mean, health-wise will make a difference if I stop now. But why is, like, in 3 months or a year or 5 years better than now? So I said, let me just do it now and try it now. And I think that for me was the turning point.
Yeah. How is your mom, by the way?
She's fine. She's back home, and she's like doing her treatment. She feels okay, but sometimes she wants to up her treatment, and it's a type of cancer that will never go away. But I got to. Now we're at the point where we accept it. It is what it is. Let's do the best we can.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for us.
Yeah, of course. It's still, this is not an easy thing. It's still so difficult. Yeah. Well, I hope and wish for the best outcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
So this scared you, of course, and you thought, why not? Why wait? Why not now?
Exactly, yeah.
And this was enough for you to motivate you to take action and make a quit attempt, make an effort.
I think it was also, I like having choices, like with everything. And I said to myself, if I try it and I won't succeed, I can always try it again. But at least I will try. And my thinking was, if I quit smoking, even for a week, even for a month, even for a year, is still a step forward. And I said, why not? And then actually with having COVID coming over, it was great because I had planned vacations. I had plans going back home where everybody smokes. On vacation, everybody smokes. I'm meeting with my friends. Not too many smoke from my friends now, but still some of them smoke. So being in like quarantine and everything, that was actually very helpful for me. I know some people was the opposite because they were staying home, they were smoking.
Exactly.
But because for me, the trigger was more like socializing. For me, it was like a blessing in disguise, the COVID situation and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Since then, have you socialized as a non-smoker, and how did you navigate that triggering situation?
I socialized, but I think I met more with people that don't smoke. And also the environment here being so against smoking, it helped. But I have to say, like, even if I am staying home, like over the weekend, if I don't meet with other people, I'm just like, I don't have any cravings. And I didn't have any cravings since like I stopped on my last cigarette.
Really?
Yeah. So then I realized that my biggest fear, and again, like when I finished the program with you, was I won't be able to do it. and I'll fall into the trap again. And again, I'm a failure. And again, like all my mind will start spiraling. So having that in the back of the mind that actually nothing happened there. I didn't have cravings. I didn't have nightmares. I didn't have dreams of smoking. So it made me more hopeful. And as I was saying, I knew I always have the choice to go and light another cigarette. I had 2 other cartons that I bought before I quit smoking, just to get prepared to have cigarettes to smoke. And I had them until like 6 months ago when I throw them away. So they never tempted me. And I think I'm lying. I think at the beginning I had a little bit of like, sometimes I would feel like not the craving, but the impulse just to go outside and smoke. And I always like remember what I was doing with the program. I'm like, is that, because I think the journal helped me so much, because I realized all my journal, why did I smoke this cigarette and did it achieve? It was like, because I was bored. I didn't have a reason. I wasn't like stressed out. I wasn't overexcited about something. So it was basically the impulse of going outside and lighting a cigarette habit. So what I did, I bought a coloring book. And I was saying, when I have that craving, I have to first start coloring something. And I know myself, once I start something, I kind of get into the flow.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'll finish this page and then I'll go and smoke. And of course, by that time, the craving went away. So I was still like employing the learnings I had from you, like the strategies I had there.
I love that. So you replaced smoking with this coloring activity, which of course engages your hands, it engages your mind, it's meditating. So that makes you feel mindful. So this is a great choice.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that last time you quit, it lasted 3 months, and this time you're doing amazing. So in your opinion, what has been different this time?
I think this time, knowing that I have strategies that I can go back and like use them if I need to, but knock on wood, I don't need them so far. I think my mistake last time, I thought I'm invincible and I was trying. I was like, oh, 1 cigarette can't hurt. And then I was like,
yeah.
But this time, like, I know myself better. And I said, I'm not going to try it, especially because I don't feel like it. I still hate the smell. I still, so I think this time I'm not going to fall into that trap. And again, I think if I have the strategies that I can go back and review if I feel the need to go. I'll actually go on a vacation next week, first time in 2 years, so in the Caribbean. So that will be interesting.
Wow.
I don't think in my group, oh, no, there is a heavy smoker there. I was trying to convince you to take your program, and so far, best. But I'm confident that I'm going to take the coloring book with me, maybe.
Why not? Why not? And I think, I think there are also some apps online that have this coloring thing. Maybe, it's easier instead of the book. But yeah, why not have it? It's your coping strategy. Why not?
But I think the biggest thing that I'm not going to even try it, even if I will feel like it's harmful. Now I know even 1 cigarette is harmful because it can put me back again in that group of people who smoke. So,
and I think that is such an important insight that has that I think most of us have fallen into this trap of thinking, oh, 1 cannot hurt, or I want to make sure if I am over it, or I can just smoke this 1 time, but it's a slippery slope. So, and you knowing it in your heart that there is no such thing as 1 cigarette, and also feeling secure that you have the strategies and the support if you ever need to, that has helped you this time to succeed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Amazing.
Back to all the homework that we have with your program. And I remember there, the reason why I smoke, it was half page. like I like it. And I found like everything I wrote there, like on my why I should stop smoking, everything I put in positive, I was like, no, it doesn't really relax me. It doesn't really help me focus more. So like just reflecting on why, I think that was the major thing about the program. It makes you really think why you're doing this and why you want to stop. And so for me, like it was like, as I said, like half page with why I smoke. And I think 3 pages were why I should stop smoking. So reflecting and being more aware about what you're doing and why you're doing it, it was very, very helpful. So I think I can always go back and remember that I really didn't have too many positives about smoking. So.
And about the positives you did have, like, oh, it helps me relax, it helps me focus. How did you overcome those perceived benefits? And now you're in a place where you don't miss smoking and you don't need it to concentrate and you don't need it to relax. So what do you think helped you go from believing that you have those benefits to being where you are right now?
I think it's because I have like a recent, so to speak, experience, because when I do my cleaning for Christmas, it's a big thing. And before I used to take a lot of breaks to rest because I was going and smoking. And I found like at some point, like this past Christmas, I had that, I was like, oh. And then I said, but that will take from my time. So I'm trying to, once I have that thought, I'm coming back with against thought, like the thought, like will contradict that one. No, that will just, so seeing like what's the negative will be if I go and do that. And plus it's like winter outside, like here can be very cold, minus 30 degrees and windy. And what's the purpose of that? And I was trying to talk myself out of it. So I think that was helpful, just being more mindfulness and just not acting on impulse. Or I would say, I'll go and vacuum this room and then maybe I'll go. And by that time, I already forgot about that.
So these are thank you for sharing that. These are some great mental strategies you've been using and using your mind power, talking back to the craving thought, talking yourself out of smoking, delaying, not acting on impulse. That's a very important one. Giving yourself this space where you're able to choose what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember when I was doing your program, when you had, I'm trying to remember, it was such a long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
But when you have to like put an activity before you go out, I remember something that I needed to be able to employ like right away. Like if I don't have the coloring book with me, I was like, I have to do 10 push-ups before I go outside.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't feel like I want to do the push-ups. Maybe I'll try later. So I'll postpone the cigarette because I postponed the push-ups. So having like an unpleasant activity also kind of more or less help to delay the cigarette. That's so I think really whatever kind it helps us, why not?
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. And all the strategies, all the little tools, they all work if your mind is in the right place and you're already within that headspace and you're committed and you want to do this and you're starting to see smoking for what it really is. So if you are in that headspace, all the tools will help you, and whatever works, it's good.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I think first to really want to try to do your best. And like I don't always look on Facebook on the group, and I see people like still struggling, like just keep trying and keep trying it again. I always think if I go back to smoking, I always have this program to go and start again. And I know it's something there. So again, having that option there for me, having choices is very helpful.
Yeah. And just your mindset that it's not the end of the world, that I take it one day at a time. Every day is an achievement. For however long I do it, it's still great. This releases some pressure, I think. Instead of thinking, oh, I will never smoke again, or I cannot smoke again, you're giving yourself this freedom, and this has served you greatly.
Yeah, it's true, because before I started the program, after I saw it and I took some time to think about it, it's like you're losing a friend, you're losing something that's constant in your life for so many years, that have more or less control over it. Like, this is something you do when you want to. It's rewarding, you think it's rewarding every time, although it's not. It was that fear of what will happen after. And because for me, it was like, what do I do? Like, when I meet people, like, what do I do with my hands? Like, but then I was thinking, most of the people don't smoke. They are still happy. They still can meet with other people and do something else than smoke. And like, they can have a coffee or just keep their hands still. So I think you're right, like having the proper mindset from the beginning and saying, no matter what, I'm going to try it, and I'll take one day at a time and I'll see. And I'll keep going again and again if needed, knowing that the strategies are there and the help is there. It's very, very helpful.
Yeah. And do you remember when you decided to quit smoking more than 2 years ago? Do you remember why you chose this program, or what resonated with you about this method?
So, because I have my background in healthcare, so I'm familiar with the theoretical framework, so to speak, like cognitive behavioral therapy, and I know it has results. I'm using these strategies at work. And for me, having not a scientific basis, but I know it works. Mm-hmm. And I was looking online. I also did a course in hypnosis, and I was kind of preparing I kept postponing doing like a self-script for my self-hypnosis because I was afraid, again, I'm going to fail, it's not going to work. So I was kind of procrastinating on that. So I think in that period of time, I was like, okay, I have to look online and see what's there, like what other people are doing for quitting smoking. And because I was like getting into the head that I'm ready to try. I was at that stage, I'm ready to try. And then I think I just Googled it and I just found your program. It showed up and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Since cognitive behavioral therapy, let me read more about it. And then I watched the video that was there with the explanation of the program, and I really liked it. And I think it's important to resonate with the person who does it. So for me, I really like Nasya. I think she will be I like the way the videos were done, and I think something clicked with the information and with you. And so I said, okay, I'll do hypnosis another time if I still need it after, but I didn't need it anymore. So thank you for that.
Of course, and thank you for trusting the program. I'm glad you found it and that it resonated with you. So it was already in alignment with what you know works and what would be an approach that you trust, which is psychology and cognitive behavioral approach.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And during the program, what benefited you the most? So you mentioned you benefited from the smoking notebook and the replacement activity. Is there another strategy, if you can remember, that maybe you used or you're still using or stood out at the time?
Like, as I said, I think for me, it was, I'm going to be kind to myself. And if I don't do what I'm supposed to do in day 2, I can extend it and try in day 3 or 4, and I'll just keep trying. I think I completed the program in 20 days or something like that, or 20 something. So just allowing myself to make mistakes. I think, yeah, not mistakes, but I know I was very diligent with the journal. Mm-hmm. And whatever written homework, but when you say, okay, so postpone the first cigarette, that was hard for me because I had to go to work. I couldn't postpone it. So what I ended up doing, I was waking up an hour earlier.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I like sleeping in the morning. Like, I'm doing so much effort just to have that cigarette. So I think it was a lot of work with my mind and trying not to get trapped into my thoughts. But I think the greatest thing was, I'm going to take it easy, and I'll see where next day is taking me. because I
yeah,
on myself, I'm like, oh, this is too hard. I will never be able to do it. So just giving myself space to try it and take as long as I need to.
Yeah, I absolutely love this advice, because I think this is where anyone struggles or gets stuck. It's this perfectionism. Oh, I have to get it perfect right away, and I have to and this is not good. But what you said exactly, allowing yourself to make mistakes and or not have everything perfectly, or giving more time. That's really, really the key to being able to see the process through. That flexibility and being kind with yourself. So that's very important. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And so you have some background, and you work in occupational therapy, right? Are there any strategies you would suggest for people on how to cope with stress without cigarettes, or anything at all? Because you have all this expertise. Could you share something?
Well, I think for me, what worked for me, and I like the advice I also give to my patients, in general, is, and as an occupational therapist, we look at occupation and doing things. And so I think, like I did for myself, I found things that will work for me to replace that activity, to distract me, or for whatever, to keep me occupied. Mm-hmm. Find something that you enjoy doing, or you think you may enjoy. So try something new, so something that will get you into the flow. And I think it's just keep trying. And sometimes I think to myself, I'm another person, because I'm so hard on myself. I'm thinking, what advice would I give to my patient? Would I tell them, oh, you didn't do your homework today, so you're a bad person? So just think you're talking with a stranger. Okay, I understand it's hard. You couldn't do it today. You're still having 5 cigarettes, although you should have 4. Maybe tomorrow you'll try again. You'll do your best. You do your best you can. You have reasons, in a way, subconscious, maybe why you're smoking. So it is hard, but keep trying. So I think, just as I you said again, being kind to yourself and find something to do, something that can replace that time.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing that. So also treat yourself as someone you're responsible for taking care of, not don't be too hard. And so I really like that perspective. That's fantastic. And what did quitting smoking teach you?
I think for me, it still is, it's, if I can do that, what other things I can do and I was afraid to do. And now as I get older, I'm like, oh, maybe 20 years ago, I should have done this. Why didn't do that? So maybe try other things. And I feel myself, I'm stronger. I think I also have more compassion for people who smoke, because I know how hard it is to quit. Although I have friends who said, oh, I can quit tomorrow if I want to, but I really don't want to. I'm like, well, I don't know if it's so easy, but if you believe that, so just try, put the cigarette away and see. Yeah, so I think it's more, if I could do that after so many years of every day doing something harmful to me, and I keep continuing that, maybe I can do everything I need to and I want to in my life.
Amazing. And definitely it's quitting smoking becomes a point of reference that we can do whatever we put our mind to, and it increases our confidence in a meaningful way, not a superficial way. So yeah. And Manuela, what advice would you give to someone who wants to quit smoking and maybe struggling?
I think everything we said here, I think if they really look into themselves and see exactly what they need. I think for me, knowing that I need to have choices and not feeling constrained, and knowing that I can always rely on that program and try again if I so just take it easy and just try to do your best. and knowing that you have something to fall back if you need to. So I would just say, just keep trying, and every day that you do something from the program is a success. So, and things are adding up there. And once you quit, don't try it again, not even one cigarette.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to learn the hard way that there is no such thing. So, yeah, definitely. Manuela, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your experience and how quitting smoking has been for you more than 2 years ago. And I know that what you shared, I'm sure it's going to help others who are thinking of quitting smoking, or people who have already quit and need some extra motivation and support, or even people who are in the process and preparing right now and need some mind shift. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me share. And again, thank you for the program. It's very, very helpful, and it works.
Thank you. And if you're here watching this video, leave a comment below and let Manuela and I know what you're taking away from her experience that can help you succeed. We're looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you all for being here. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.
Good luck to everybody.